Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, I'm going to tell you all about Stephanie McMahon cashing out on almost 50% of her WWE stock. And on top of that, we're going to tell you WWE's plans for Aalyah Mysterio going forward.
Plus an update on WWE's plans for Keith Lee. And could we get The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? This is the news.
Well, let's kick things off by talking about Steph the Chef, as she is known everywhere. She has just sold 43% of her WWE stock, netting her a cool payday of approximately $2.25 million. Woo! This is, that's one hell of a little payday the day before her birthday. Little present for herself. Information on this sale can be found in a new SEC filing, which is obviously available to the public, but Dave Meltzer kind of brought it to light last night, made the wrestling world aware of what had happened. He tweeted the following: Stephanie Levesque sold 43% of her WWE stock yesterday. Worst timing possible since the stock is at the lowest price it's been in a long time. So she sold approximately 57,000 shares of Class A common stock at $39.18 a unit. $39.18 a unit. She has a total of 76,000 shares in WWE, Class A shares in WWE remaining. Other major WWE executives have done this in recent months as well. Triple H netted a similar payday for selling around 40% of his stock back in May. Vince McMahon did it as well. He famously did it to raise funds for the NFL. He doesn't own the NFL. The XFL, he doesn't even own that anymore. But, you know, you shouldn't read too much into things like this. It would be crazy to sit here and go, whoa, Stephanie McMahon is selling, she's leaving, or anything silly like that. Let's do it anyway. But, you know, she's been WWE's chief brand officer since December 2013. She's been on the board of directors since February 2015, or at least that's true if her LinkedIn page is up to date. But she hasn't been used as an on-screen personality much over the past couple of years. So, you know, a little bit of a financial shift back there behind the scenes. But you imagine she's probably still inheriting the keys to the kingdom with Triple H one day, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how much to read into this because, I mean, WWE is an absolute bloody shambles right now. But despite the fact that, yet again, we saw dwindling ratings for Raw and a product that had maybe have another breakdown yesterday, like, they're fine, aren't they? Let's be honest. How much money are they making from TV deals and how much is that a proportion of their revenue?
Yeah.
Like, if the fans weren't allowed back for the next 3 years, they'd be absolutely fine as a result of the deals that they've done, and yet they still, you know, fire people just to make those profit margins even bigger, which is just heinous, to be honest. You know, there's no way of us knowing why she sold all this stock. Why you'd sell it at this point is a more interesting question, I suppose, because like you say, it's the lowest it's been in for quite some time. But maybe she wanted to get herself a nice present for her birthday. Who knows? But my God, WWE are in a real rut right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in a weird spot just all across the board. And this week's Raw, man, I can't imagine that the reception that show is received is going to fare well for next week's numbers.
No, exactly. What I like to think is Steph finished watching that Raw and went, you know what, bollocks, we're selling, what is it, 2 million quid's worth of shares? Yeah, God, awful last night's show, Monday night's show. Last night's shows were really good, by all accounts. Obviously it wasn't WWE, that's why. Let's talk a little bit about Keith Lee, though, in WWE. Dave Meltzer, again, providing the update here about their plans for him. Basically, they want to continue to present him in a way that at least endeavours to make him look like a star. Good work on that so far. Look, he hasn't lost any matches since moving up to the main roster, but 4 of his 7 matches since moving up from NXT have ended via DQ or count out, and at least a couple of them I can think of off the top of my head, he was about to get pinned when the DQ happened, basically. He'd been RKO'd or he'd been Claymored, and then the other person in that Orton-McIntyre feud just got involved, basically. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens this Sunday, of course. This is the dichotomy I have in my head. Despite all this bollocks, I'm still really looking forward to Sunday's pay-per-view. Clash of Champions does have some really interesting matches, and I'm intrigued to see what direction they take afterwards, especially with that WWE Championship. I mean, like I said before, it writes itself that you claymore Randy Orton into an ambulance, but then what happens with Keith Lee around that title picture? Intriguing.
Yeah.
But if this is them endeavouring to make him look like a star, I mean, aside from the music and the gear, just the booking is poor, in my opinion, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to sit here and call it a complete write-off. Keith Lee is ruined, all that hysterical stuff. But, the presentation so far hasn't been perfect. Beating Randy Orton on pay-per-view, great. 7 minutes, brilliant. Here we go. When that happened, I was like, all right, get the rocket strapped. Never mind the crap music and the weird skirt thing. Keith Lee is going to the top. And since then, he's had something like 3 DQs or whatever. So it's kind of like, we know that there are problems with their star-making processes, but at the same time, Keith Lee is just so great. I think he's a guy who could potentially be good enough to the bad stuff doesn't really affect him. We will find out in time, of course. The last few weeks have been really weird, and I don't think just existing in the same shot as Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton constitutes a rub, like WWE often seem to assume. But we'll see where it goes. I'm looking forward to seeing where he lands in the future. Let's move on to Aalyah Mysterio. I always get Aaliyah's name wrong because it's spelled Aalyah. There's no I in there. Although this could be a case of WWE just not knowing how to spell one of Ray's kids' names. Dominic has had about 7 different spellings, including the letter Z. That didn't happen. But anyway, we've got a report here from Dave Meltzer talking about how Aalyah is going to be used going forward. The exact term he used is as an actor. Okay, she's going to be used as an on-screen performer, but not a wrestler. This comes on the back of recent developments. Last week, she checked on Buddy Murphy after he'd been beaten up by Seth the Chef. This week, there was the weird retread of the Eddie Guerrero-Dominic storyline where Seth was like, hey, Dominic's not your son, actually, Aaliyah's not your daughter. And there was a bit of a falling out, and Buddy Murphy was like, hey, this has gone too far, I'm on your side. Really sorry. Oh, there's stuff going on across the board, basically, and that looks set to continue with Aalyah, set to become a regular performer on television, at least for the next while.
Please don't tell me they're going to do a romance angle with Buddy Murphy, who's around 30, and Aalyah, who's 19.
Yeah, don't do that. Gee whiz, God, that should be the last thing you do.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I thought, what she was given to do on Monday night, she did relatively well, and it's a storyline we've seen on multiple occasions with wrestlers and their families being dragged into it, and you don't know this business, stay out of it. Don't tell me what to do, Dad. That sort of thing. It's not the direction I'd like them to go in. I think Dominic is someone that they clearly have invested in, and this just seems like bollocks and more dragging Rollins promos going, look at this, they're all taller than Ray. What's going on here? I could not care less. But WWE's going to WWE, and this is sports entertainment.
Hey.
Sit back and enjoy the
family feud.
Anyway, let's talk about something good involving family. Segue. Could we be getting The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? My God, I hope so. It's one of the few things that could salvage what's going on right now in WWE. Basically, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has uploaded a video to his YouTube channel talking about this. He said, I've talked about this, and it's so funny how a lot of people always say, if you were to go back to WrestleMania, who would be the opponent that you would face? It feels like the one that would make sense right now would be Roman. In terms of box office draw, it would be huge. He went on stating that he would be honoured to share the ring with Roman and go back to WWE, and would love to raise his cousin's hand in victory at the end of it. Well, no spoilers there, Dwayne, but anyway. This is one of the major aces WWE has in its back pocket. And right now, seems like, not right now, but it seems like if you were going to do it, it was going to be whilst Roman is in arguably some of his career best form with this sensational so far run on SmackDown, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, the viewership of this channel has heard my thoughts on Roman Reigns versus The Rock a million times over, so I'll keep it brief. I think it is the dream match in WWE at the moment, and if there's any way they can put that together, they would be printing money and they would be insane not to. However, of course, we have to acknowledge the sheer volume of whoa, I just dropped my iPad. The sheer volume of red tape involved with regards to Rock's Hollywood career and the insurance issues and the fact that he seemingly picks up a major injury every time he wrestles, but I think it'd be sick.
Yes, and don't let that end in a DQ or a surprise roll-up. Just a tip. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Eric, Jenny's husband. Eric says, my question, who is your favourite wrestler with the names Andy and Adam?
Oh my goodness. My favourite wrestler... there's a lot of really great Adams.
Yes.
There's a lot of great Adams floating about. My favourite, the most I'm invested in personally, I'll go with Adam Hangman Page. I love his story. I've loved his character arc over the past year or so. And my favourite Andy wrestler is The Butcher from AEW. I love that creature. He's awesome. Andy Williams, of course, he plays in Every Time I Die. So not only is he a sick musician, he's a big, beefy bugger of a wrestler who takes people's heads off with lariats and has a monocle and a crazy mustache thing and just a great look. Love The Butcher.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I needed Andy's help working out any Andys in wrestling. He was looking on Cage Match for us. How many Andys are there in wrestling, Andy?
69.
Nice. So, seeing as you've gone for The Butcher, I will go for our backup answer being Test. And my favourite Adam in wrestling, who's natural wrestler, obviously, I would like to pay an honourable mention, of course, to Adam Cole. I'm surprised neither of us have picked Braun Strowman.
Well.
But I'm going to go with Edge. Adam Copeland. What a great guy he is. Get well soon, mate. Next question today comes from Mark Smith, who says, morning, gents. Do you think WWE's treatment of Lana on Raw these past 2 weeks is a reaction to Miro signing with AEW? I do think that there's a bit of legitimacy to this. Like, Lana, thanks for showing up today. So, pretty much the same as last week. Nigel's going to put you through a table.
Yeah, I do think there's an element of that. Like, I think it would be silly to discredit it whatsoever. We can debate it and whatever, and there's people can raise points about how, oh no, well, she's just playing a losing role in this storyline or whatever. But, 2 tables in a week, right? In 2 weeks. One of the, the first one was a Samoan drop by Nia Jax, who doesn't exactly have a history of being the safest worker in the world. And when have they put Lana through tables in the past? When they've been annoyed with her for backstage reasons. So you put 2 and 2 together, and every single time you get 4.
Exactly. Final question today comes from the bearded Bostonian, at Bostonian Beard. Great Twitter handle.
That's quality.
Says, hey gents, do you think WWE is doing this awful Retribution storyline simply as a catalyst for NXT to prevail at Survivor Series to help ratings versus AEW? Can't see anything long term coming from this. Jesus, I mean, what a conspiracy theory that is, Andy.
I mean, are they even conspiracy theories at this point, man? This is what they do, isn't it? Hey, I heard you got a special coming up. Cool, here's Halloween Havoc or whatever. Yeah, it's just what WWE do, man. They've been counter-programming AEW from day one. NXT was moved to the USA Network to combat AEW Dynamite. It's literally the reason the show exists as a network property. So I can absolutely see that being the reason. Yes, I think your logic is very sound.
So the black and gold brand are going to win again at Survivor Series, but only because the red brand was going to win until T-Bar, Mace, and bloody Flapjack got involved.
And speaking of T-Bar, Mace, and Flapjack, there are and finally today.
What?
So... was that the last question, or have I jumped the gun?
Yeah, that's the last question.
All right,
I have no idea where you're going with this. I have no idea about this one today.
All right, so yesterday, Adam Nicholas and Adam Cleary reported on the new names, obviously, for Retribution. They're very silly. They're very silly. But I've been added, Adam Wilborn, by a number of people citing the Urban Dictionary definition of these names. You may have seen this already. If you haven't, well... get ready for this. The Urban Dictionary definition for T-bar is, and I quote, when one is wearing a thong/G-string, they sit down, it sticks out, and you see a T-bar. Good, that's a great thing to name a wrestler
Look out,
after.
lads. Here comes G-string.
Yeah. And thank you, by the way, to everyone who sent me these on Twitter, especially Paul Bradford Brown, who sent me both of them. Slapjack is even worse. The art of ejaculating on one's hand and then slapping another person in the face. That is... Who's that? Shane? Is that Shane Ford? I think it is. Seems like a natural name for him. But the definition of mace, right? This is a bit different. An exceptionally good friend with brown hair. He's not afraid to try something new, even if it will take him a while to get the hang of it. For instance, the box step dance. He's very determined and he's so cool and fancy. Mace has a very good and very fun sense of humor. Mace is a very good friend. He'll even share his cookies with you. If you know a Mace, then you are really, really freaking lucky as heck because he's amazing. So if you know a Mace, then you better count your stars and don't let go of him. Where's Mace? Sounds like a perfect description of Dio Madden to me, pal. But here we are.
What are the other names? Wedgie and bloody Queef.
Wedgie and Queef. Jesus Christ.
God, WWE. Let us know your thoughts on that. Today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes.
Andy H. Murray, the H stands for Happy Birthday, Matt Hardy.
Adam Wilborn at WhatCulture WWE. Me and Sid will be previewing the Wednesday Night War later. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Slapjack.